Activision Blizzard, everyone's second favourite company in the grand scheme of things, was announced today that the WoW Classic lead was fired. And it's a weird one because there's a dispute as to whether he thinks he quit. So first of all, he's called Brian Birmingham, which sounds like the shittest superhero of all time. What special powers do you have? Traffic congestion. I can make any building derelict. Brian Birmingham is like the fucking shittest superhero of all time, right? But anyway, he thinks he resigned. So it's kind of like the inverse of the cool thing. You can't fire me because I quit. He quit, and Blizzard went, you can't quit because you're fired. Does that even happen? You know what I mean? Crazy. So anyway, this is the report on PC Gamer. You can see, by the way, they're advertising at the moment. Age of Wonders 4 is coming out in May. I love the Age of Wonders series. I'm hoping it's going to be great. Great game. Great continuation of a series, I hope, because I had a lot of joy out of that one. So I'm looking forward to it. You should play it. Anyway, one of World of Warcraft's classic lead developers was fired by Blizzard after protesting an employee evaluation policy, according to an original report by Bloomberg. Brian Birmingham, who is the lead engineer on WoW Classic, refused to give an employee a lower valuation in order to meet a quota introduced by Blizzard in 2021. Now remember, by the way, 2021 is when they were meant to start sorting their shit out. That was when all the original bad stuff happened, right? So, okay, I know this, it's all fresh in the mind, because in Year of the Scumbag, the article I just wrote, Bobby Kotick is the chief scumbag, which... he is, isn't he? So who else would it be? The process, called stack ranking, requires managers to give about 5% of their employees a low performance evaluation to fit on a bell curve of relative performance. According to Activision Blizzard, sources who spoke to Bloomberg, a low rating reduces an employee's profit-sharing bonus and can hamper them from receiving raises or promotions in the near future. So let's talk about stack ranking. I've never heard that term before, but I know the process because it's called a vitality curve in Europe. And so what a vitality... And again, I've worked as a manager in offices, call centers, and for sales teams. And so how it works is you have a group of employees. You assess their performance, and essentially you give them a grading on, to use it for example's sake, excellent, okay, substandard. And so the excellent people are people who go above and beyond. They work incredibly hard. They hit all their targets, but they're also capable of on-the-fly problem solving at a level that's essentially above their station. They have an attention to detail for customer welfare and happiness. They bring external ideas to the company. They are energetic. They always attend. They are low maintenance. These are the types of things that I had to assess when I was working on a sales team where this system was implemented. In other words, who are the people that could essentially one day take my job or be taken by the company to go and do my job rather than them having to hire an external candidate and pay them more? The A standard, the gold standard. The rest of your employees and the majority of your employees, because as it says it's a bell curve, the majority of your employees will fall into, okay, average. They're ones. They turn up, they do their job. It's very often the bare minimum, but they hit their target still, and then they go home. And they don't want to progress within the company. They're not interested in that. They don't want to give the company any extra than what they have to. And so you can't hook them in, There might be some with some potential. You might be able to win them over to the company's way. But, that's kind of where I think you should be, honestly. I don't think you should be a goody two-shoes coming in. I love the company. Can I be a manager, please? Because the company don't give a fuck about you by and large. But anyway, that's what those people, you just give them, B's and C's or whatever, mid-grades. Then at the very low end is the bell curve, comes down. It's the substandard employees. And these are the people who, they're late, they're sloppy, they don't hit their targets, they get confused by, concepts. And what you do is you label them, you put them essentially on notice. And so you label them as being substandard, and then you start a process of, for want of a better phrase again, managing them out. Right? You could try and save them, but chances are they cannot be saved. So what you now do, they make up the bulk of your attention as a manager, because remember, your really good ones are low maintenance. Generally, the ones in the middle just do what they want to do and want to be left alone. These are the people that take up your time. And what you do is, and this is how it was for me in the sales environment, what I was being encouraged to do from my, divisional manager or whatever you want to call it, you manage them out. You either mold them into mid-tier caliber employees, or you get rid of them. And so that's what you do generally. Every time they're late, you become very pernickety and you document it. You've been late 5 times today, that's a disciplinary. Your first disciplinary is a written warning. And then, so you'll also have a scale at which you can fire people. I remember I've been on both sides of this. So, you'll have a first written warning, second written warning, termination, it might be at your company, but there's stages. But what you are pushed to do is get that first written warning as soon as possible, because it opens up all the other possibilities. And also, you're not just fucking with them on the behavioral stuff, like being late, being rude. You're not just fucking with them on that, because remember, if somebody monitors you 24/7 at your job, they'll find a fireable offence. I don't care how good an employee you are, but if you don't hover over someone and let them work, the bad behavior will skate and it won't really make any difference to the end result. So the other thing you do is, you've got behavioral is the one area, which is like, again, being rude, being late, but you've got competency as well. And what you're encouraged to do is really test them on everything, because they'll fail a competency test. And so what you do is, you say to them, oh, listen, I'm going to buddy up with you today. You've been struggling in your sales, haven't you? You're at the bottom of the board, right? No, again, spoiler, I did this. So I've done this, right? So I'm not a good guy in this scenario, but it's when I worked for the man, and I had a really wonderful cocaine habit back then. I was a salesman. I had a full head of hair. I was good shape. Esports hadn't claimed me and turned me into this. So I played the game. I played the system, And so I've done this. I don't mind telling you. This is how I know it's real. And you go, you make it look like it's a good thing. You go, you're at the bottom. You're at the bottom of the charts today. I'm going to work with you all day and get your sales up. And sometimes, God bless them, they might not really be salespeople material, but they need a job. We all need a job. And it's like Lenny from Mice and Men. You going to help me, George? Yeah, I'm going to help you, Lenny. Of course I'm going to help you. Help you get fucking fired quicker and save my company a fucking bunch of money. Yeah. And so you buddy up, and then what you do is just you listen to all the areas in which they fail. They miss, like, sales opportunities, let's say, like very obvious buying signals. Like, stuff like, I just need to check what, I really want the phone. Say you're selling mobile phones, as I did at one point. I really want the phone. I just have to check my finances. And what you're supposed to say at that instance is, well, hey, I've got all the time in the world. You're not wasting my time. Check now. And that puts pressure on it, creates pressure. They already have desire to buy the product, etc., etc. But, what a bad salesperson will go, oh, well, can you call us back once you've checked? And generally what happens without the pressure of the sale engagement, sale interaction, they go, I don't really need the phone, don't worry about it. What you have to do is keep them fucking dangling. You never call back, you keep them there as long as possible. If it's in person, even more, so it works more effectively. You never let them go. You tell them, I've got all the time in the world. You're not wasting my time, brother. You sit there, you do what you've got to do. Got to call the wife. Hey, look, I'll make the call for you. Beep, 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 beep. What's the number? Yeah, no problem. Yeah, you do it. And so you set them these targets, right? You watch where they're weak, and then you set them the targets that you know they're going to fail. You say, listen, okay, here's what we're going to do, right? I did notice that you were really having a conversion problem when customers were conflicted and you weren't really jumping on those opportunities. So out of the next, let's say, 30 customer interactions, I want you to get 10 commitments from customers to buy. And that sounds really good and doable. They think you're their friend. They go, George, thank you. And you go, don't you worry about it, Lenny. But what happens is they fail, and then you write them up for failing, because now it's a competency issue, and that gets them one step closer to pushing them out the building so you can get someone else in for the company. That's how this works, right? So it's no wonder in a modern company, in a supposedly progressive industry, these types of sales targets, these types of KPIs, these types of methods, this type of assessment, it shouldn't exist. These are really anachronistic managerial techniques, which is why it's me, a boomer, talking about them. And so the idea that this was implemented in 2021, this was used at Enron. This has been widely debunked. Like, look, here, I'll even bring you up, because it took me a while to find it, because I had to remember what it was called when I do it. And like I say, it's called the vitality curve. Right, so here it is on Wikipedia, the vitality curve, and explains everything. So it tells you, here are the bad things that can happen as a result of this. This is why it was widely debunked, and I'm pretty sure most companies, certainly in Europe, this would be an abomination. Remember, when I was employing these tactics, this was at a sales team where I literally had a desk, and it was the type of office I could keep a bottle of scotch in the bottom drawer and just pour shots out for people if they hit a sales target, and we all had a drink on the shop floor. This is not fucking, you know what I mean? It was Mad Men for northern scum, basically. Like, it wasn't like a high level fucking, company or nothing, right? I mean, I'm not saying I was supposed to do that. I'm saying I could, and no one cared. Because as long as we hit all the big numbers, you can do what the fuck you want. Sleep at your desk. Oh, Rich. You know what I mean? Oh yeah, sorry, man. You could get away with fucking murder, but we were killing it. We were hitting the numbers. So anyway, right, look at this. Look at these for fucking downsides of this method. Right, so first of all, perverse incentives, which if you're not familiar with that, it's where it's an incentive that has an unintended and undesirable result. So this can be if the A level, the top tier people know what they have to do, they themselves can create the bare minimum that they have to do within that field. They're competent enough and smart enough and able enough to essentially create their own set of parameters. So they're not even testing themselves. They can hit those targets over and over again. See, earlier KPI rant. This is why people shift them. You got to keep shaking that tree. You can see from it, turning promotions into pay cuts, right? Because obviously people in the top percentile are more likely to get promotions. But you can see when the rewards given to the A players are significant, accepting a promotion has an added risk. For example, consider an employee who is A-rated at their current job level. When promoted to the next level, they continue to perform at their exemplary level, but due to the higher expectations, the employee suddenly becomes B-rated because it's the very best. It's the cream of the crop. And so why would I want to go up? Isn't it better to be down here and get all these bonuses and all this extra stuff rather than go up there and be a B student, a B worker, or maybe, God forbid, a C worker? It encourages backslide. It encourages like, oh no, it's okay, I don't want to move upwards, right? Then sabotage. I don't even need to read that off the screen to tell you. Yeah, this used to go on in my sales team. This used to go on. They used to, right, if you were weak, if you couldn't close, the top guys would fuck with you all the time. We had a dude, he used to get nervous when he was coming close to a close. It's just a thing. It was like a tick playing poker. So the guys, when he was on a close, and you would hear him, because we could all hear each other on the shop floor. We're all stood up. We've all got our fucking headsets with no cables on, strutting around in our suits. You know, yep, gonna get that for you. Yep, we're gonna lock that in. That was a big phrase, big strong phrase. I'll lock that in for you today, like it was Wolf of Wall Street. But all we were selling was like mobile phones, porno packages for your fucking Sky TV, whatever come down the chute, We'll lock that in. Big strong phrase. Anytime this guy was going, yeah, that sounds good. That sounds really good. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm so happy. You knew. He's getting a sale. People used to fucking launch shit at him, like throw things at him. And sorry, just a moment. And he put the fucking customer on mute. Stop, lad. Stop. I'm going to get the sale. I'm going to get the sale. Hello? Hello? Oh, you've just cost me a sale. And then, yeah. Should have closed quicker, you could. Yeah. Anyway, you're around down the bar tonight, you slag. And obviously, yeah, sabotage. Fucking sabotage. Like, it's easy to keep people on the periphery out of being in the A team. Very easy. You just fuck with them. You know what I mean? That was sales back then. Then, obviously, this is the other crucial aspect to it. Reduction in productivity. If the workload is already high and the workforce is reduced further due to the vitality curve, in other words, we've got rid of all of the C's, so now the B's were the C's, and we've reduced our overall workforce. Now we can't hit the same targets or the same demand. So guess what we have to do? We have to go out and hire people. We have to hire them desperately just to make... And so, very often, and this definitely happened at times when I was working in this kind of world, we would fire a bunch of people and be like, whew, glad we got rid of them. And we would go out and hire a bunch of fucking melts. So you're like, oh shit, my team's only 4 people and add 12. I can't hit the targets. And they go, don't worry, we'll do a recruitment drive. And then you would see these slack-jawed melts come through the door who were 10 times worse than the cunts you just got rid of. And I'd be like, looking at my gaffer going, I've got to train these dudes. Are you fucking serious? The fucking Beverly Hillbillies just got here. Like. So, in other words, it is a terrible method of management. It's just, I can't. When I thought this must have been like an old story that like got dredged up like that. This must have been at least like 8 years old or something. But no, this is like from 2021. I just couldn't even believe it. Like, so anyway, to continue with the story, enough about Richard's terrible life. In an email to staff expressing his frustration with the policy, Captain Birmingham wrote that Blizzard executive leadership justified the policy by claiming it will squeeze. This is so outrageous. It will squeeze the bottommost performers as a way to make sure everyone continues to grow. If the bosses are ever using the word squeeze, it's just not good, right? Like that, you don't squeeze your employees. Like, squeeze. You just don't. Like, it's what you say when you're in a rugby scrum, squeeze. It's ridiculous. He also said he was asked to keep the policy secret from the employees. Now, as I said earlier, yeah, we sort of did that. We didn't explicitly say we're using the vitality curve or whatever, but like, we did tell them, you're going to have to get to this level. We're going to help you get to this level. We're going to train you to get to this level. But if you don't get to this level, maybe this isn't the job for you. We were relatively transparent. But, I mean, that is like, well, we just keep it totally secret. So imagine being in a system. You're being assessed by a system you know nothing about. How do I work with that? In practice, Birmingham believes that stat ranking encourages competition between employees, 100% does, as I just said. Sabotage of one another's work, there it is again, yeah, it's absolutely right. A desire for people to find low-performing teams that they can be the best-performing worker on. That's something I didn't even talk about. It's a really good point, Captain Birmingham. Yeah, that was the other thing. There used to be managers who were shit. I was shit up. You can imagine me. Look at me talking to you about video games, and Richard, you're so ugly and fat and balding, but you're also somehow charismatic. So imagine what I was like in my prime, right? I could do it all, right? So if you were on my team, you had to be good. You had to be good, right? But there were other teams. There was a guy called Alan. I think I've talked about him before. We used to call him Alessandro Nested because he was bald at the back, but he grew all his hair long. So he just had this mad bald patch, like. And so we was called, and Alessandro Nesta was playing for Middlesbrough, I think, or something at the time. Anyway, maybe he never played for Middlesbrough, but he was a well-known footballer. So we used to call him Alessandro Nested because he was called Alan, see. And we all used to play 5-a-side, with each other and all that. So he was Alessandro Nested. And anyway, if you were on his team, because he was an older guy, he was a bit more chill, low T. He wasn't, like those guys were, it was okay, but you didn't have to be the big swinging dick on that team. So people used to say to me, oh, Richard, I really get along with Alessandro Nested. Can I have a transfer? And I'd be like, yeah, you fucking drag my numbers down. Transfer, I'll fucking get the fuck out. Get out. You're not cut out to be on fucking Richie Lou's team. And so obviously, yeah, people want to transfer so they can go and be the big dog and be the big fish in a smaller pond. That's how that works. So I hadn't even factored that in, but yeah, that did happen. And it ultimately erodes trust and destroys creativity because, yes, humans adapt. They learn what they have to do to get the rewards, to press the button on the Skinner box, but very rarely will they want to step outside of that. Then, here we go. There's a bit of history here. Stack ranking has received continuous criticism since General Electric popularised it in the 80s. There you go. It's a fucking 80s. Like, they didn't know shit in the 80s about anything. Put it this way, in the 80s, right, my mother, when she was pregnant with my brother, right, that was still an era when, like, the doctor would say, oh, keep your iron up as a pregnant woman, so drink a can of Guinness. A doctor, a medical doctor, have a can of Guinness, drink stout. Do you know what I mean? We knew fuck all in the 80s, right? You guys don't know. The worst part is, go look at it. There's trace amounts. How would a doctor ever? Yeah, it's good. Good for breastfeeding. Keep drinking that stout. Yeah. That's what they used to fucking say back in the day. God forbid what my mother was being told while she was pregnant with me. Probably explains a lot. Probably she was told a bottle of vodka will stop him kicking. And here I am now, like. Probably that's why sort of fucked up with fetal alcohol syndrome. I'm like, esports will be good. Can I work there, please? Fucking ridiculous. So yeah, we didn't know shit in the 80s. So the idea in 2021, you're using a managerial model about human behaviour, like from the fucking 80s, like, nah, not good, is it? Not good. The 80s, it was a mess. You had to be there. In 2012, Vanity Fair reported that Stack Ranking pit Microsoft employees against each other, incentivised them to sabotage products and withhold information out of fear of impacting their rank. Microsoft stopped it in 2013. That's Microsoft, the company that's going to be buying and taking over Activision Blizzard, maybe this year, certainly by 2024. In the letter to Blizzard staff, Birmingham wrote that if the policy isn't reversed, the Blizzard Entertainment he wants to work for doesn't exist anymore. And as for why he's protesting it now, Birmingham wrote that he and other World of Warcraft managers had been able to work around the quota for the last 2 years, but that he was now required to drop an employee's ranking to hit it. According to Birmingham's email, others in WoW leadership asked if they could meet the quota by giving themselves a poor rating, but were told they couldn't. Another reason it's a fucking joke. Before sending the email, Birmingham reportedly told a large group of employees he planned to resign. An HR representative spoke to him to confirm his resignation, and he told them he wouldn't work as long as the policy remained in place. He was then terminated, according to his mail. A Blizzard spokesperson told Bloomberg that the evaluation process is designed to create excellence in performance and ensure employees who don't meet performance expectations receive more honest feedback, differentiated compensation, and a plan on how best to improve their own performance. There it is! Just what Richie said! That's what we do. Oh, we're going to help you improve. We're definitely not assessing you for weakness so we can exploit it for the good of the company. In a Twitter thread posted after the Bloomberg report went live, Birmingham said he hadn't intended for the story to go public, but since it has, he wanted to set the record straight. He confirmed he's no longer employed by the company, but said that he'd return if he could in order to fight the stat ranking policy from the inside. He also believes the policy came from upper management at Activision Blizzard, above Mike Ybarra, the president of Blizzard Entertainment. I'm just going to rewind a little bit, so before I get to the obvious there. I'll just say this. You know you're working for a shit company if you get frustrated and say something like, yeah, I think I'm going to resign, and immediately a gremlin from HR floats out like, well, we'll be happy to accept that resignation then. Yep, let's take you into an office. We're going to pull down all the blinds. You're totally alone. There's no recording. And, yep, we're happy to accept it. In fact, we're accepting it right now. Look, we've already got the... Like, you know you're at a shit company. You know you're at a shit company like that. You know you're at a shit company. If, like, everyone needs to blow off steam from time to time. I can't tell you how many times I've fucking threatened, to fucking quit. Shit, man, I threaten to quit esports every other fucking week. Like... Still here. Fucking, that's how sick I am, But people need to say it. You need to say it to know you can do it. You need to repeat it. I can quit. I can quit. I can stop this anytime I want. It's like drinking alcohol. Stop anytime I want. You need to say it out loud to know you can. It's power. It's like a spell. You break the illusion. You shatter it, right? This is the important part. It came from... code word above your bara, end code word. the president of Blizzard Entertainment. So it's above a presidential level within the company, and it's a managerial system developed in the 80s. God, you've stumped me as to who could come up with this fucking, with this plan. I just can't think of an aging, long-standing executive with experience from the 80s who's working at Activision Blizzard, who has notoriously bad ideas that have run the company into the ground. I cannot fucking put the pieces of the jigsaw together. Who could it possibly be? In fact, if I look at Activision Blizzard's hierarchy, right? Okay. Right, let's do it. Let's just have a look, right? I'm doing this for you, Captain Birmingham. Our leadership, right? Okay, let's see. There's Mike Ybarra, the president, but he's the president of Blizzard. And Rob Kostic is the president of Activision. And Chodolf Sommerstad is the president of King. He's the legend behind Candy Crush. By the way, what a Giga Chad that guy looks like. I could look like that if I just would take even a modicum of care of myself. But I don't. And I this is why I look like this. But you're a Chad, Chodolf, and you got a wicked name, even though it does have Chod as one of the syllables in it. But you can't have everything, I get. Chief Diversity Officer. They don't make rules like what he's talking about. Okay, next. Chief People Officer. They don't make the rules that he's talking about. Chief Marketing Officer. Well, they make all the marketing decisions, okay. Executive Vice President for Corporate Affairs and Chief Communications Officer. That generally means they preside over the stuff that goes outwards. So, okay, who have we got next? Who's in the next row? Chief Legal Officer. They deal with legal stuff. Chief Administrative Officer. They deal with administrative stuff. Chief Financial Officer. They deal with financial stuff. Okay, let's go up one more. Senior Counsel. Well, that's obviously the super lawyer that we know about, right? So we've got Daniel Allegre, who is the President and Chief Operating Officer. Could be on Daniel. And then you've got Death Stare Bobby Kotick, notorious asshole and dirtbag. It's tough. It's really tough. It's fucking tough. I just don't know where these kind of edicts could be coming from. I don't know about you. I just don't know about you guys. Who could be making these outrageous decisions from the 80s? Certainly not the man with the suspiciously 1980s haircut. Never him. We at Blizzard, this is Captain Birmingham again continuing, we at Blizzard pushed back pretty hard in 2021, and I truly believed we had reversed the developing quota policy. When the sexual harassment lawsuit was revealed later that year, we saw some change following that as well, and it felt we could make an impact on ABK. The K is for King, again, the Candy Crush people, the most profitable aspect of Activision Blizzard, I believe, ABK policies. The realization that there's still a minimum quota for developing, despite our objections and sternly worded letters, leads me to believe I was operating under an illusion. I hope Blizzard's positive culture can overcome ABK's poison, but it isn't succeeding in doing that yet. I bear no ill will towards my former colleagues at Blizzard Entertainment. The Blizzard I knew and always wanted to work for is being torn apart by the executives at ABK, and it makes me sad. I truly respect the developers I worked with at Blizzard. Despite everything, Birmingham said he'd be willing to continue at Blizzard, willing to continue to play Blizzard games. Well, how brave of him. But I can't participate in a policy that lets ABK steal money from deserving employees, and I can't be made to lie about it either. He also said he was surprised to see the Bloomberg story about his dismissal and that he did not provide the email it cited in his report. He believes the quotes in the report are accurate, however. So, rip to a real one. Another one. Layoffs and playoffs, guys. Another great guy. And there you have it. You see, it's shit everywhere. It's shit everywhere in this shit business. A business so backwards. It's meant to be at the cutting edge of technology, and we're using fucking managerial models from the 80s that I myself have used in my past life before I ended up here. What a nightmare. What a nightmare.